thank you. Thank you for joining today. We are going to be diving into some ways to make life easier when it comes to editing, writing, the revision side of kind of developing material. So I think the actual title was Streamline Your Writing, Editing, and Revising Process. So we're going to take about 20 minutes today to go through this, and if at any point you have any questions, feel free to ask them or put them into the chat, which I'm going to open up now so I can at least see it. But my name's Pat Michaels. I'm the Chief Learning Mechanic here at Great Circle Learning. I know I've met many of you who are in the event live, but for people watching in the recording, if we haven't met and you have questions, please reach out at any point. I'm here to help. But today, we're going to be talking about several different items. And again, we're really diving into the concept of how do we make it easier when we're actually in the development process. We're writing, we're editing, we're revising. And so we're going to look at today the use of styles. And we are going to dive into this really from the realm of Microsoft Word, but conceptually these will work in other programs as well. But we're going to look at using styles. How do we find specific things in our documents when it comes time for editing and revisions? This one we're going to show one of our tools called Find and Highlight to make it easier. What do we do when we're bringing in stuff from multiple sources? How do we make that process easier? Everyone's least favorite feature on your phone, AutoCorrect, or even probably in Microsoft Word or anything like that. How can we take that and make it easier and have that work for us? And then this final check that I've just put in over here, if I could figure out how to point at my screen, this is a freebie. This one's about how do we make sure when we're in the project management side, right? Before we send it off, we're doing the final review on the document. How can we see what's going on in that document easily? So that's it's an additional one. It doesn't really fall into the editing and revising and writing, but it's more at the project management side of it. So that's what we're going to go into for today. So let's jump in, and the first item, let's talk about styles. So styles is a feature within Microsoft Word. I mean, we've heard the term marketing uses style guides. Hopefully you guys use style guides in what you're building when you go to create materials. If you don't, we can, let me know. We can talk about that at another point. But actually harnessing how Microsoft Word uses styles can make your life a lot easier when it comes time for development. So what is a style? At the highest level, and this is Microsoft's definition of it, is styles are a combination of formatting characteristics that you can apply to a text to quickly change its appearance. It's a definition, I don't know, it's a good one, but wrapping your head around it, I think it's better to kind of see it more in action. So a style can apply to the different characteristics that we want to have happen to specific text in a document. So what fonts are used? What size is the text? Is it bold? Is it italicized? Is it underlined? Is it, what colors? How much spacing's before? How much spacing's after? All the different formatting options we can assign to a specific style or specific styles that will then allow us to, at a mouse click, apply it within a document. So let's actually look at this in action. So I have an existing document here open. And so in here, I can go through, right, so if we look, and let me point out on where I zoom in, so right here where it's key components of a facilitator guide. This is actually set up as a title style, which we can grab from, I hit the wrong button, so I apologize for that. Styles are applied using either the styles box in Word, which I think is a little bit harder to use, because there's only specific items that show up in here, and we can click that little drop-down menu, which, let me get this so you can see it over here at the bottom. If we were to click this little drop-down caret, we can get to those there. It's one way to get to them. The other way, and what I prefer to do, is a little bit further down on the ribbon, there's a little, there's like an arrow pointing down. And so that is this item right here. So that will make it a lot easier to get to it, because when we select this, it opens a styles box or task pane on the left-hand side. And now we can see all the different styles that are in here. So I could quickly put my text where I need to in a document and choose a specific style that I want to apply to it. And what it will end up doing is where my cursor was located, right? So if I was to highlight this text and say this was, a quote, it will apply all the formatting and characteristics that I specifically want. So very helpful. Some things to keep in mind when we're talking about styles or working with styles. If you use Word's specific styles, right? Heading 1, heading 2, normal, all of those, everybody who's running Microsoft Word has those styles in their system, right? They have normal, they have heading 1, they have heading 2. Now, you may have gone in and modified that style so that your normal isn't Calibre text, it's Algerian, it's a 14 point, and it's orange, and it's got this text effect on it. You can set that all up. And when you're looking at it on your system, it looks exactly the way you want. Now, that being said, I do not recommend Algerian and orange and 14 points, but that was just my example. But you can make it, dial it in for the way it looks on your system. Now, when you send that Word document to somebody else's system, you have a normal style, they have a normal style. So the styles, which is what's driving the look and feel, are the same. But the attributes of your style, which is Algerian, 14 point, and orange, and my normal, which is sticks, 11 point, italicized, and bolded, or whatever those are, my document's the same document that you dialed in exactly the way you wanted it and sent to me as a docx file is going to look different. So a recommendation when you're working with styles is to change that style or create your own style. So I'm not going to dive into this, about creating them, but just as an example, here's a blank document that I have gone in and set up a few styles of my own. I've created what I call my body text. I have my headline text. I also put in an answer key, in addition to all of Word's all their other styles that are in there. So if I open up my task pane, again, I did that by clicking on that little down arrow here. I now have all of these styles in my task pane, right? So I could now come in, I need to turn off my arrow, but let's go, let's say this is my headline, and then we're going to just put in some body text. Right, and actually, I don't want that to all be uppercase, so, I set the, I build this out the way I want it. So I can now quickly, over on the left-hand side, choose my specific style for what body text is. So if I put my cursor in that line, select my body text, it would apply that style, right? Same for my headline text, or my headline text, it sets it up the way I wanted, right? And then if I had, a short answer, right, I could go through and set that up exactly the way I needed it. So by using styles that are specific to me, if I send this over to somebody else, the styles that I've created are still in that document. My body text, my headline text, answer key, whatever those are. But more than likely, they don't have a style named exactly the same. So it's going to give you your look and feel in that document. So one of the biggest issues that comes up with creating your own styles is Word, and I'm going to use the technical term, willy-nilly places that stuff in the styles gallery. So in this list of styles over here, so you can see answer key, my body text, my headline, normal, style 1. So this becomes kind of convoluted when you're trying to find those items. The styles box over on, or the task pane, makes it a little bit easier. Again, they kind of get put in there however you want it. But it's a little bit easier to see them because they're all listed down on the left-hand side. One of our tools, though, called AutoCorrect, and I've got it here on my ribbon. And AutoCorrect, and we're going to, over the next couple through a series of these sessions, kind of dive into a few of these features. This is really a tool to help subject matter experts or developers at the writing level of the program. But one of the items we have in here is called Manage Styles. And what this allows us to do, once it opens up my dialog box, it gives us a specific, it shows us, here is all the items that are currently in use. And it's got a priority in here. Or I could show everything that's available. I could go through and I could make some changes in here. But what this ends up doing, this priority level on the left-hand side, is how do things show up on this task pane in the styles box. So like if I wanted to make sure that my headline text was the first item in there, I could set it to priority 1. And if I wanted my body text to come into as the second item, I could over here on the right-hand side set my priority to 2, change that. Let's say answer key as I want it to be in the 3rd slot. Right, and make sure it may be normal. Right, I could go through and I could change these. Right, we'll make that 5. Make this 6. So this is really, it's about setting yourself up for success as we move, for the long term. Right, you kind of set up everything you want it, and going forward, one time set this up. Right, so I changed all these things, and then down here, am I doing it only in this document, or for all documents that use the template that you're in, which is probably in your normal template unless you've created your own. But I could set that, and now when I'm done, I can have everything lined up exactly the way I want it on my task pane on the left-hand side, and I can quickly, and I know where it is each and every time. So it's just a nice little way to make your life easier. We have actually one that will allow you to rearrange the styles box as well. All of those type of things. So, using the big thing, use styles to make your life easier, right? It's going to allow you to go through and quickly apply formatting throughout the document. Right? About 50% of the time people spend building training materials or writing or creating content is on stuff like what font, what size, what colors do I use? Where do I put this on the page? So if we can streamline that process, make it easier for you to apply those items with a few clicks versus coming through, and here, let's pop back over here, coming through, highlighting text, going over to the Home tab, being like, what font should I choose? What color? How much spacing before or after, or these awful text effects, like all of these things create additional time in the document creation process. Not to mention, when it comes time to editing, we have to go through and we have to manually edit all of these things individually. Where if it's set to a specific style, we can just quickly go through and say, if I want this again to be my body text, I can change that. Right, and here, let me just put in some other random text real quick. All right, so I make that my body text. Now, if I quickly if my body text, I actually want it to be a different font going forward. Right, I needed a different look and feel. I can quickly come in, change over whatever the font is, and we're going to go to Algerian. And the only reason I ever choose Algerian is because it's got such a distinct look that it will quickly, you can easily see the change. I really don't ever recommend using Algerian. But just by, if I've got styles in my document and I need to make textual change, I need to change the fonts for all my body text, I just update my body text style or whatever style you're using, and it updates it throughout the document. So styles will be a huge way to make your life easier. So that's first step for streamlining the writing and the formatting process. Use your styles. So after this, second piece that I really want to talk about is finding and highlighting. Right? This is more at the editing, at the revision side of building training materials. Let's say we need to go through a document and you're looking for specific words or phrases or things like that. So I'm going to pop back over. We're going to come in. We're going to come back to my sample document here. So my guess is a lot of time people will use Control F or the find feature, which is what Control F is. Right? If I choose find, this opens up the navigation pane over on the left-hand side. If you notice, I'm already searching for the word guidebook, and this is a great feature. Like I can quickly see, in this every place that the guidebook's located, I can jump to it, right? But you're searching for one specific item. And you're looking for words, or we could search for form. You can search for some high-level stuff. Like I want to find every place a specific style has been used. This find is great. Now, there are times though. Let's say you get somebody, and man, do they love adjectives, right? They use adjectives way too much, and you want to find all the places that they used adjectives. Or you've built out you've got a large document with a whole series of regulations, and you need to search for specific phrasings within a regulation because it's changed. That's going to be changed. Going back to our AutoCorrect tool, one of the items in here is called Find and Highlight. And what Find and Highlight allows us to do is it gives us a separate search box, and I can create a list of words, phrases, sentences, full paragraphs that I'm searching for. So just as an example, we'll use the word guidebook again. And I'm going to mark this as add. Right, so I put add, and I can enter it, which will add it over to the right-hand side of my list. And maybe here I'm also going to put in ILT, and I'll add this. And let's do organize, just as an example. So I'm going to basically create, in this case, a short list of specific words or phrases, sentences I'm looking for. Now over at the bottom place, I can choose how do I want to highlight it within my document. So I'm going to mark it as green. And all I now need to do is click OK. And it's going to run through, and you'll see 6 words or phrases are now highlighted. And it has gone through and has marked up all the places that those have shown up in my document. So quickly you can create those. And if these are specific things you search for every time, you can come in and you can save this search set, which will then add it as an item that you can pull up each and every time. That's the save the search set. Or we can come in and we can load one up. So if I click on load, preloaded into it, we've given you, I think it looks like 9 items, but we'll use my example. Someone uses way too many adjectives. Right? I'm gonna select this load list. So find all the adjectives. If I click OK, now you'll see we've got this whole list of items that we can search through. Right? I can come in and these are all the different adjectives that are out there. And let's say on this one, I want to mark them all as this magenta color. So I'll click OK. And it runs through, searching the entire document. Takes a moment or so, and obviously us doing this, running a Teams meeting at the same time slows things down a little bit. If it's a huge document, go get some coffee. Come back, take the dog out for a quick moment. It's not long. It's quick to do it. But now, here is all the different items. Here are all the different adjectives that are used throughout my document. And I'm not saying you got to search your document for adjectives, but I knew my writing's got a good amount of adjectives. That's why I use that one. So I can quickly come through, and now I can come in and I could make my edits and all those things. And I could, if I just needed, like if this one I was happy with and I didn't want to make any changes, I could just come over to the Home tab. I've put it into my Quick Access toolbar, but I can remove highlighting and make that go away. I could do it individually like that to remove it as I'm editing. Or if I come back to this Find and Highlight, down here I could say, I want to just remove all my magenta. I've looked at it, I've gone through, I've made all my changes. Now let's just take out everything else that's highlighted as magenta. Just mark the color, select remove, click OK, and it would go through and it would take all those things out. And here I'm going to remove the green as well. But it's a nice way to create really saved lists of specific material that you're using each and every that you're looking for in revision processes, right? If you write a whole bunch, let's say you build training materials that's policy based or regulation based, and you want to quickly go through and you're searching for specific regulations or the names or specific words. Create a list of that, save it, and now we can quickly run through documents and find that. So it's a nice little tool. It's there to just make that revision and editing process or finding the places where we need to make edits and revisions easier. All right. Now let's talk about, let's say we're creating materials. Sorry, we're bouncing around, right? It's not just writing and then into revisions or editing. You're kind of getting a stream of process into how Pat's brain works today. But so let's say we're building a document. It's got multiple sources, right? It's coming from a whole bunch of different places. So how do we do that? How do we do that easy and maybe not have to copy and paste? So we're going to pop back over. Let's give ourselves a new clean Word document. In our, again, where did my AutoCorrect go? So we're going to, seeing AutoCorrect that's strange. All right, we're just going to use it off this one because for whatever reason on my new document, that tab wasn't showing up. So we're going to blame this. I run these things, I test all this stuff out before doing it. And of course, as you all know, as we go live and we're showing stuff, things don't quite just work the way we want. But so within AutoCorrect, here's our document. Let's say we started bringing in information. Now, after this about this guide, let's say there was another portion I wanted to bring in. I had a whole other, I had a job aid or I had a document that I wanted to drop into, after this, but before, after about this guide, but before visual cues. So I'm going to give myself a page break just to make my life easier. And here we'll make this, get rid of our bullet points. So at this paragraph mark, I'm bringing in some text. Or I'm bringing in a document. So obviously we know we can go into another document, copy and paste, or, and I would do copy, paste specials, or keep text only, just so we don't bring over the formatting. But using our tool AutoCorrect, within our AutoCorrect, one of the other items that are in here is an item called Insert Docs and Pics. What this allows us to do is we can come in and into any Word document, we can insert specific things. We can insert an entire other Word document. We can insert pictures. We could insert PowerPoint images. So we've got some options here. We are going to go through and we're going to insert a document. So when I select document, most everything else grays out on this dialog box, and all I need to do is click OK. And it gives us now a separate dialog box asking us what's the file that we want to go to. So this is the folder. Here's my sample folder that I set up for today. But maybe I'm going to put in, this Word document here is what I wanted. So I'm going to just select it. I'm going to click OK. And what ends up happening is where that item, where my cursor was located, right? So at that paragraph mark that was below the page break, it's now dropped in this whole article or this document with my Dwight Schrute picture. So it's a nice way to quickly start bringing things over. And the other great part about this is it will bring it over into the formatting of the document that you had. So the formatting from the other document isn't brought over. So if you were in, if you had Algerian font, it's going to bring it over at whatever the formatting or the styles of the document it's going into. So it's a quick and easy way to get a similar look and feel across the entire document. Other things we can do with this, we can actually insert in, the insert docs and pics. We can insert pictures. I could come in, I could choose picture, right? The nice part about this inserting pictures, I can set it as a fixed height or a fixed width, right? If I want to bring them at pictures and I want it to be exactly 3 inches wide, and do I want to border it? And maybe I want to link the image versus embed it. I can make all these choices as I go through. And I could come in and let's get over to, here's an image here. So I'll select that. And I can quickly start bringing in items all with this. And in this case, I was able to resize it as it came in. This is actually a linked image. So I'm able to quickly maneuver multiple sources into a single document. Again, you can always copy and paste. I just like to show, there's other ways to go about it. All right. So with that, let's get into one of my top items that, if you've ever seen me talk about different things, this is one that I always harp on and I use on a daily basis, and it's AutoCorrect. So everyone does think about AutoCorrect like you're typing in that text, to your friend, to your significant other, whatever, and it starts, things get changed to ducking versus something that rhymes with it, right? Or all of those things. Most people think very poorly about AutoCorrect. I think it's a tool that we all need to take better advantage of. So again, let's jump back over here into our Word document. So in here, let's get ourselves to I'm just going to put another page break so we can get to a clean screen. So when I say AutoCorrect, let's say I mistype the word Tuesday, right? And then as soon as I hit space or return, Word automatically corrects it to the correct way to spell it, AutoCorrect. But we can actually set up things so that AutoCorrect helps us. And for people who've used our program Leader Guide Pro, may realize that we've created some AutoCorrect shortcuts like =SSL. And if I hit space, we'll convert over to say something like for a headline, right? And I could now come in, let's put it, I'm going to put back my styles box right here. We're supporting what we've been talking about, right? So this is going to be, let's call that title, right? And I can start playing these things out however I need it to be. But you can go through and create things. If there's certain things you use all the time, right? Like I have one =PLMK. Changes over. Please let me know if you have any additional questions. I'm available for any assistance that you may need. All right, so that's something I type quite a bit. So I've just created a quick little shortcut for it. So, I could be typing out and again, in these examples, I always use a lot of random text, but like, let's say I'm typing this and that's the end of the item, I can just put in that quick, type in those few sentences, and it is able to load up. So take advantage of AutoCorrect to help you out. So how do we create these? I've actually added AutoCorrect to my quick access toolbar. So let me zoom in here. Give you a little arrow so you can see this. So I've put AutoCorrect onto my quick access toolbar so I can get to it from wherever I am in Word with a quick mouse click. If you don't have, if you haven't done that already, where you can always get to it, you can come under File. So when we click File and we get, onto this kind of overview page in Word, if you scroll down towards the bottom and select Options, this gives us the Word Options dialog box. Come under Proofing, and we can get to AutoCorrect options here. Right, there's AutoCorrect options. So when we select this, we get into AutoCorrect. So that's how you can get to it just through Word. You can go into the Quick Access Toolbar and go into all commands, add it there so it shows up in your Quick Access Toolbar. That's the way I'd recommend doing it. For those who actually have Leader Guide Pro installed on your ribbon, let me cancel this out real quick. Cancel that. If you've got Leader Guide Pro on your ribbon, we've also put it here into the controls section. It's right there. So, a couple different ways you can get to it. But when I click on it to put this into place, at the moment, when you're first starting out, don't worry about anything up at the top. Just come down to this Replace section at the bottom. So really, we're going to be working in this area here. So what we end up doing is I would put over in the left-hand side in the Replace box, I always put some sort of precursor. I tend to do equal sign, but, maybe it's equal sign, maybe it's a dash, maybe it's, the at sign, figure out something that you don't use a lot in other ways. But like we could go equal sign, we'll do TGIF. All right. Some of these things I make up as I go. Thankfully, it is Friday. On the right-hand side, I can type in what is going to be replaced when this is typed in. This is what shows up. So I can then, if I'm happy with it, I can click Add. It shows up in my list. And obviously we could go through and we could build in other things. But equal sign TGIF, hit return, and it quickly changes that over. So once we've actually gone in and you can set all those items up. The nice part, AutoCorrect is saved into, it works across most Office programs. So things you create in AutoCorrect, if you create it in Word, it will work immediately into Word. If you go in here, I'm going to close out my PowerPoint. I'm going to reopen it. Once you've reopened another Office product, basically anything but Excel, but in here, I just created that equal sign TGIF, but once we've restarted PowerPoint or Outlook, and then go in and use that same, of course it's not doing it for me today because it's just how it, let me go one more time, because it takes a moment for it to load through the system, but it will end up working eventually in here. So that equal sign PLMK that I was using before for please let me know, right, there we go. That came in. Maybe is this going to start working now? Of course, once I get off it, it will. But just know, if you create it in Outlook or in Word, it will, in the not too distant, it's generally after our close down and restart, and probably because I need to restart. Probably I'd say restart Word, restart your other programs, and then it will start running in here. but they'll work across the board. Very helpful for emails, right? So certain things you type all the time in emails will then come across. So you're going to spend this time building out a whole series of items for you to use. But what will end up happening is it's specific to the system that you're on. All right, so equal sign, in my case, equal sign TGIF, changes over to thankfully it's Friday. It's specific to this computer. If I wanted to put it onto, I needed it on my laptop, right? I wanted to have it work on this system. I'd either have to manually create it here, or I can create a backup of this and load it onto another system. Or you've built this all out, and now IT's giving you they're going to reimage your hard drive. So you're going to get a rebuild, or you're getting a new laptop completely, or a new computer. Again, we're going back to our tool, AutoCorrect. And there's an AutoCorrect auto text option. And in here, we can choose this. The top one is backup AutoCorrect and auto text entries. It gives us a dialog box that it's going to we can back up our plain text, our formatted autocorrects, as well as formatted auto text, which falls within the quick parts, which we didn't talk about. And so you could do all of it or a selective range. I'm just going to do all of it. But when we click OK, we get a dialog box that's asking us where do we want to put our file. And we're going to put it into my folder that I'm using for today. Right here, for ease, we'll put it into downloads. Backup's complete. So now if I look over my files and folders, go to downloads, here are those entries, right, from 138, 139. Those are here. So now next time I go into Word or on the new system, come over here, choose restore autocorrect auto text entries, and I can bring those in. So just a nice way to all this work you're going to do to streamline your process. Now how do I back myself up so I don't have to recreate it down the line? So AutoCorrect, if you're not using it, you need to. It's going to just make your life a lot easier. And I know we're already at 40 minutes, and I try to keep these to like 30, so I apologize about that. But I do promise this is our last item, and then I will let you go and get you back to your day. So the final check item, again, this one's more about project management, right? We're looking at a document, and we need to see what's happening on it before we send it off. And what do I mean by that? So here is, this is that sample document we've been kind of playing in. And in here, you're right, I've brought in images, there's other pieces from other documents, maybe that someone else has worked in it. Right? And right now, I don't have any of I'm just looking at this with no markup, any of those type of things. What I'm able to do, again, we're going back into AutoCorrect, and we're going to look at the AutoCorrect statistics tool. When I select this, what's going to happen, and of course it popped it over my other screen, so I'll pop it over. It's going to give us data about what's occurring in this document, what's located in this, right? Are there bookmarks? Are there charts? Here's a big one. Are there comments, right? We've built out a document, you're sending it off to a client for them to look at. Maybe you don't want them to see the comments that have been going through, that have been bouncing back and forth. You want to make sure those are cleared out. Or we've got pictures in the document, and are the pictures embedded, meaning that they're in the document itself, so when I send it off, those pictures are going to show. Where on column 2, we'll see there's pictures linked, which means there's pictures, it's a hyperlink to where a picture's located. And so if I send this off to a client and they don't have access to where those pictures are located, they're going to get a broken link in there. So it's a quick way, is there smart art? How many styles are in here? right? We can also see all the different styles that are being used in the document. So where are those places where things, if we send this off, like what we have as normal, may look different on their system. So you can quickly, get a whole overview of my document. But like I now know there's 2 comments in here, and maybe I don't want those to go over, right? So I can now just come over, close out of this, and knowing that there's comments, come under review. All right, let's look at all markups. All right, and I could scroll through, or I could, jump to my next comments to figure out where these are. But, I could come through and I could, resolve it. I could delete it, take care of all those actions before I finalize it and send it off. So statistics, the author text statistics, it's a neat little tool that just makes, it's the frosting on the cake. How do we just make sure all our I's are dotted, all our T's are crossed before we submit stuff through? So in this whole thing today, right, talked about, big ones, big takeaways. If you're not using styles, do so, right? It's going to make your life easier. I think setting yourself up for success, for ease of use, using our AutoCorrect tool to set up your taskbars exactly where you need it, so you can quickly get to it and you know where they are, just makes it that much simpler. How do we search our documents? How do we mark things up for revision purposes, for editing, right? Is it just using find or find and replace within Word? Is it adding in the next layer of find and highlight using our AutoCorrect tools? How do you want to, think about what type of documents we're bringing stuff in from other locations, and how do we do that and keep a consistent look and feel of styles? It's where our insert docs and pics helps. AutoCorrect, use it. It's so powerful. It's so simple. If you're not using it, I'll get really nerdy and sit down and help you with it at any point. And then, just keep in mind when we're sending something off to a client, we just got to make sure all the I's are dotted, all the T's are crossed, right? First impressions matter, so let's see how those look. Let's just make sure we're covering everything on our side. But with that, that's everything I wanted. My goal of 30 minutes kind of went out the window because I get excited about nerdy stuff like styles and AutoCorrect. So I probably dug a little deeper than I needed to. But with that, I probably won't see anybody before the 4th of July. Hope everyone has a great 4th of July. We are putting up a couple other sessions. The next one coming up, and here, I think I've got it. It's going to be July 12th, and it is all about creating professionally formatted facilitator guides or participant guide. Creating professionally formatted guidebooks. And then on July 19th, we're going to have one on 4 ways to reduce your time to develop instructor-led and virtual instructor-led training. And I think what we're going to do for the last one, because I dig the nerdy sessions of how to do stuff, I want to put together a session of how do we do these type of things? How do I share into Teams or into Zoom and make my screen move and fight the stagnant screen and do all those type of things, right? Bounce these recaps and agendas and have it all seamlessly slide. So we'll kind of do an intro to that for people who want to kind of up their VILT game. But with that, unless there's any questions, have a great rest of the week. Have a fun 4th of July. Be safe, have fun with the family, eat lots of whatever you like on that time frame, and we'll see everyone soon, all right? Take care, folks.
Thanks, Pat.
You're welcome.
Have a good 4th.
You too.